As designers, we're always hunting for the story behind the material. We look for inspiration in history and process in the tiny threads of an idea. Well, I just got back from a place that isn't just a stuffy museum of textiles. It's more like a living library of design solutions, the Prato Textile Museum in Italy. And let me tell you, what I found there has lessons for every single one of us.
All right, let's just jump right in. So check this out, a sample sheet for Givenchy from 1973. This isn't just some cool vintage fabric. Think of it more like a physical database of color, texture, and pattern from one specific moment in time. It immediately makes you think, right? How did they solve their design challenges back then, and what can we learn from their solutions today? This one page really sets the stage for the whole Prato experience.
Because that's the thing. When you arrive in Prato, you realize you're not just in some building with artifacts. You're standing in the middle of a city whose entire identity has been literally woven from thread for centuries. It's a place where history isn't tucked away behind glass. It's the very foundation of everything.
And the collection itself? I mean, the sheer depth is just staggering. We're talking about an absolute treasure trove for any designer. Over 2,000 items just from a single recent donation. And this includes these incredible velvets from the 15th century. You get this tangible connection to masters of the craft from over 500 years ago. It's a masterclass just waiting for you.
So how did they get here? Well, Prato's success was no accident. It was absolutely forged in fire. Get this, back in the 16th century, their rival Florence forced them to produce nothing but the cheapest, lowest quality wool. But that constraint, it actually became a catalyst. By the 17th century, a crisis forced them to innovate, and by 1785, they'd built the foundation of the resilient, resourceful industry they have today.
And to really get their story, you have to go back to the very beginning, to the fundamental building blocks of everything we create, the raw fibers themselves.
It's pretty simple, really. Everything we wear, touch, and design with starts in one of these three families. You've got your animal fibers from fleece, your vegetable fibers from plants, or synthetic fibers born from chemistry. The museum lays this out with such beautiful clarity.
Okay, now this is where you see the magic happen. On the left, that's raw, greasy wool right off the sheep. But on the right, that's the result of their signature move. They take old knitted fabrics, unravel them, and create these gorgeous, soft, new fibers. This right here, this is Prato's whole identity. It's their secret sauce, turning the raw and the discarded into something brand new and valuable. And I love this comparison. It shows you the two completely different worlds of material we work with. You have this organic, almost sculptural cotton ball, literally grown from the earth. And right next to it, the sleek, engineered perfection of synthetic fibers, born in a lab. And as designers, we know these aren't enemies. They're just two different languages we can use to tell a story.
So we've got our raw materials. Now what? How do we turn a pile of fiber into the designed fabrics we know and love? Well, this is where the human ingenuity, the real alchemy of creation comes in.
Before we had modern dyes, color was a two-part science. First, you needed the colorant itself, from things like roots or even insects. But that color would just wash right out without the second crucial step, a mordant. It's a chemical salt that basically locks the color onto the fiber. It's kind of the perfect design metaphor, isn't it? A great idea is the color, but the technique is the mordant that makes it permanent.
And what about creating complex patterns? Well, it often starts with this simple idea, the Comber unit. Think of it like the DNA of a pattern. It's one basic design that when you replicate it, rotate it, or reverse it, can generate an infinitely complex surface. It's just systematic creativity at its absolute best.
And of course, you have to talk about the machinery. I mean, look at this thing. It's from the 20th century, and it was designed for one very specific job, to double up silk threads, which is a key step in making plush velvet. It's such a beautiful reminder that luxury and artistry are so often born from incredible engineering.
But of all the stories this museum tells, there's one that is more powerful than any other. It's the story that makes Prato so much more than a historical curiosity. It's a critical lesson for every single designer working today. And that is the story of regeneration.
220,000 tons. Just take a second and let that number sink in. That is the weight of used clothes that are regenerated in Prato every single year. They're collected from all over the world and completely reprocessed here to make entirely new products.
And this is the kind of machinery that makes it happen. And you've got to understand, this isn't just about recycling or being green. For Prato, this process is their economic lifeblood. It's their identity.
They built a world-class industry on circularity long before it was a buzzword.
What's truly incredible, though, is the hidden history they find in this process. For centuries, people have hidden their family treasures, jewelry, money, documents, in the linings of their clothes, especially during wars. And the sorting process in Prato has led to the recovery of these unexpected, deeply human treasures. It just reminds you that every garment holds a story.
So after this whole journey through centuries of innovation, what's the takeaway? What are the lessons from Prato that we can actually apply to our own work right now?
First, Prato mastered not just craft, but business. After the devastation of World War II, small companies rebuilt by creating these simple promotional cards. But here's the genius part. The designs were tailored for each specific country. It was targeted marketing and branding decades ahead of its time.
And this pair of images just captures that journey perfectly. On the left, you've got a meticulous, handwritten local sample book from 1942. On the right, a map showing Prato's massive global trade network. It's the story of taking a specialized local craft and, through sheer ambition and strategy, turning it into a worldwide influence.
So the lessons are crystal clear. First, sustainability is heritage. Prato proves that circularity can be the core of a profitable business, not just some afterthought. Second, constraint breeds innovation. Being forced to work with less, whether it was cheap wool or discarded rags, is what made them masters of reinvention. And finally, tell your story. Simple, smart branding took their local products to a global stage.
Ultimately, the journey through Prato teaches you that the story of design is always a story of resources. Prato learned to see used clothes not as waste, but as a resource just filled with potential, a treasure. Which leaves me with one final question for all of us. What is the overlooked resource, the hidden treasure in your own work?